Hey, it's Soul. We're continuing our Horrific Vision side project, where I clear a full 5-chest run under more or less average conditions and give some commentary. The premise is that I'm going to take a class that I don't have a whole lot of experience with gear mostly from outdoor content, along with the Horrific Visions themselves. Today I'm using my Beastmaster Hunter, who who I would enjoy playing more if I was, good at maintaining. Oh God, what is it called? The barb shot buff, the attack speed buff for the pets, and of course keeping the dang pet alive. So, well, anyway, let's get into some details first. His item level is 430, and he's sporting a level 3 sex tentacle, okay, tentacle, which does some amazing single target damage when it procs. His cloak is at rank 9. His main essence is a rank 2 Breath of the Dying with a rank 3 Crucible as backup. He also happens to have a rank 1 Condensed Life Force from, I think it was a heroic alt run that I took this guy to one time, but oh well. For talents, he's using Animal Companion, one with the pack, Camo, Thrill of the Hunt, Born to be Wild, Stomp, and Aspect of the Beast. My pet, by the way, is a beetle, and her name is Juice. For buffs, I'm only running good old Ghastly Goulash in case my pet dies, because usually I forget about healing it anyway. And finally, he has Elite Extermination unlocked on his Titanic research. Alright, let's get this guy started. This is, I think, my second time that I attempted to do a 5-chest on this character. I've been saving vessels mostly. I usually use this tune to run with my wife, and we just kind of do like casual stuff. But this time around, I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and give this a shot. So I decided to take a different route. I'm using camo here, and I'm only going to use it in this particular area just to get through like these initial packs and save, just a bit of time. But not before doubling back to at least kind of mouse over and take a look at, there we go. I wanted to take a look at the vial that is bad, so that way I can pick up the one that is good. I happened to see that it was the blue vial that I moused over. So I'm on the hunt for, I believe, purple potions, and you're going to see that maybe 2 or 3 times throughout this run. But thanks to camouflage, I'm able to skip all the way to the door here and get right to it. So I go for these Mine Carver people first because they can do a stun, and that's no good. So I focus on these guys first. The tentacle, of course, is always going to be a pain. And that's actually one of the first times that I ever got knocked up by the tentacle. I never noticed that slow effect. Either that or maybe I should look back and maybe that was the corruption effect, but oh well. Taking on this guy isn't so bad, especially because I'm a hunter. I don't have to deal with cast times, standing still, because the pushback would of course be incredibly troublesome. The tentacle, of course, isn't helping, and I'm dealing with scorched feet or hot feet. Which is going to be it's gonna make this one a little bit of a challenge because I prefer to try to keep myself away from enemies or otherwise kite, and there are a lot of times here where I just end up jumping around and I don't want to. So there's Puppy Corona. I happen to have the corgi goggles running right now. But here I'm going, of course, for the Void Speaker. I want to take care of the Touch of the Abyss before it goes off by either killing the thing or stunning it, or in the case of a Beastmaster Hunter, I do have an Interrupt, which I believe is on a 20-something second cooldown, and there's Intimidation, which I think is on a 1-minute cooldown. So I have tricks. There are ways that I can get out of dangerous casts, whether it's here or over in Stormwind, and it's no illusion. I'm doing the arguably easier vision here, but I just happen to be doing it this week. Maybe if I have a chance, I'll do the same thing with this character next week. But I think for the most part, if you can clear one, you can clear the other. I'm pretty confident of that. So obviously these tentacles are giving me more trouble than they're worth between hot feet and everything else. It's just a little bit troublesome. Like I said, it's a little bit troublesome to control. But but on this ledge, there were 2 purple vials that I was able to score. Lucky me. That's going to buy me some very precious time. Unlike on my paladin, I tend to totally forget about these. Hot feet can especially be annoying whenever you're opening up those barricades and hot feet is like right in front of you. You end up jumping right on top of them sometimes, just like right here. So it gets a little It makes me a little bit anxious when I end up jumping onto my own stuff like that. It feels like Hot Feet is even going off a little bit more than normal. Anyway, on to this next pack. I make sure to tag the named NPC there, but of course I'm going for the Void Speaker first, which I just eliminate very, very quickly. Thank goodness. It's probably thanks to that tentacle, which does a lot of damage. It's a rank 3 tentacle, which I believe has a 66 corruption on it. And it's worth it whenever it goes off, at least. I've noticed that the proc rate is really, really low, but if you happen to have it go off and it does its full duration of damage, it's extremely helpful, especially in fights where you're forced to be mobile and you need to run around a lot. For a Beastmaster hunter or any class that has instants that they can use at range, using them and getting your tentacle to proc it's extremely helpful. Not for the enemy, but, for you. So I'm a little bit under half sanity, and I'm about to try and blow this dude up as best as I can. Am I popping my cooldowns properly? Nope, doesn't look like it. But I learned this trick from someone where you can just run into the enemy's hitbox here, and you can totally avoid Void Torrent, which is great. Absolutely great. I'm able to get some burst out, so I'm able to break through the shields very quickly. There's a tentacle right there, easily cuts through the shield. Thank you very much. I managed to avoid that second Void Torrent. I've been told that depending on your character model, that you may not be able to dodge Void Torrent in the same way. I'm a Blood Elf on this character, if you hadn't noticed. So you might want to be a little bit careful if you're on a larger character, like a Tauren or a Draenei or a Kultiran or something like that. But here we go, we're going into the new area, and this time we're dealing with Haunting Shadows, which makes this a pretty easy week if you are just going for a 5 chest. I believe if you have the Double Madness, you're also dealing with Leaden Foot, which is always very troublesome. But in this case, if you're just running 5s, and that's really what these videos are for, if you're just doing a 5 chest, you're in a pretty good spot. If you are just dealing with the Haunting Shadows, all you have to do is run out of the purple swirly, before it fully expands, and then you're good to go. So with that pack dead, I can skip. This is basically what Ghastly Goulash is for, so I can run through this area, which does a lot of damage to you. I believe it's looks like 30 or 40k per tick, but I'm also gaining 2% of my life back per second. And so I come out of this, not in the best of shape, but I'm able to skip most everything there, which is extremely helpful. There's just a little bit of backtracking that I'll need to do, but first, let's throw down the orb and immediately engage the boss. So I'm not very good at doing burst on this guy, unfortunately. And what I want to do is actually I use this to my advantage, sort of. So I wait until I damage Rexar just enough until boars come out, and then I just fully switch to boars. Focus on kind of single target damage. I'm still using Stomp, of course. Please heal your pet soul. Okay, good. I'm good. I'm healing it. But I was trying to DPS him like a little bit slowly. Of course, once you get the guy down to 50%, he spawns 2 more boars, and this is where you start taking some fairly serious sanity damage, unless you have an immunity of some sort, like bubble or whatnot. But in this case, I'm still able to handle them reasonably well. They have a little bit less than 200k life. So if anything, if you try to save your cooldowns for that 50% mark when those 2 boars comes out, depending on your sanity level, you may want to just kind of unload on those 2 boars to keep yourself under control. But as you can see, I'm still pretty good on sanity. Right before I killed him and got the sanity back, I was at a little around 2/3 sanity. So I was still doing okay. Be careful of this ad. He really does a number on pets. I don't think my pet was at full health when I engaged it, so be careful when handling this. The Swarmers here, just be careful of the stun that they do once they apply enough poisons on you. There's the stun. Go me. But Juice is able to take care of him. No thanks to the tentacle, of course. But with these things cleared out and being out of combat, I can get out of here and go back to the first area. So this turned out to be successful. I did a previous run just before this recording, and I had failed it. I goofed, and I think I just ran out of sanity before getting to the very end. I made some mistakes and whatnot, and so going this new route, starting with Rexar, it turned out to be very beneficial for me. So now that I'm back, my camo is definitely off cooldown. It's been off cooldown. I think it only has like a 1 minute, a 1 minute timer on it. So I'm able to skip all these packs once again and get right to Valley of Spirits, I believe. Not before I get my pet out, of course. And here we go. So I engage these Voidwalkers immediately. The pets go for it, but they don't exactly break off. No one follows me. And I go for the elite here, just so I can get started. Here, I kind of... it's weird, because with pets, you do a pretty good job of course, not having guys beating on your face, but ad control feels a little bit wonky. Maybe I'm just not used to it. Maybe I should be using macros to reposition my pets and stuff like that, but I don't have any of those fancy tricks on me. At any rate, though, since I'm ranged, it's much easier to avoid his attacks. You just still need to be very careful and not let yourself be complacent. We're back at Hot Feet, which can be really troublesome in the spirits. It could lead you to jump off the dock and cause problems there. It could also cause problems towards the end when you're dealing with the area boss. It can be a lot of trouble if you make a mistake there. So I'm starting off with this area a little bit slow. I think I could have pulled 2 packs if I wanted to. Right there, I managed to get one more vial, which was very helpful. Here I'm targeting the Void Elemental first, so that way I can take care of that debuff, that Void Buffet or Void Buffet, whatever, however you're supposed to pronounce it. That hot foot kicking me off, thank you. But I take care of that debuff just because I would otherwise take a lot of extra damage from the caster's exploding shadow damage, whatever that is. And so I want to avoid that. Here, there's me standing on on scorched feet somehow. But yeah, not so bad. Looking pretty good right now. I'm able to skip at least one of these packs here after screwing up on with this jump here. I'm able to go around, kind of hug the wall so I can skip one pack. And in this case, buying myself just a little bit of extra time is very helpful. Go for the shaman first, as always. Make sure you take them out or even stun it, so that way they don't spawn a totem. It gives you one more thing to worry about. With the dangerous ads dead, I'm going to move on to the next pack and take on the Tormentor. It does a little bit of damage, but it isn't so bad. If anything, the Berserkers are arguably more dangerous because they can do a small self-heal. So if you happen to be cleaving, it's like, hey, cool, I'm doing cleave damage. Why are they still not dying so fast? They can restore some of their health. Those darn guys. As you can see, sanity is running really low. I'm glad that I ran into that vial earlier across the bridge. But now it's time to restore my stuff. Looking good. I think last time I accidentally pulled those mobs. Oh, I forgot. It looks like I totally forgot to get some of those totems over here. Smooth. So I lose maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit less than 100 sanity. It's not the end of the world. But it's little mistakes like these that really start eating at you. Standing in the stun, forgetting something, passing by a vial that you could have easily gotten to. Those little things add up. So making sure that you're at least on top of, the small things, the small chores, that'll put you in a good spot. So for this particular boss, whenever he does his hopelessness move, or with the orb, presumably you can stand on top of those fences or the mailbox or whatnot, and the orb won't go anywhere. So what'll happen is that it'll spawn, it'll land right on top of you, and you'll immediately get kicked out of it. For this particular week though, when dealing with Hot Feet, it's a little bit hard to have that sort of control because you still need to move out of the way of those waves whenever they come out. That's a non-negotiable. Otherwise, you get stunned, you lose a lot of sanity. It's all bad. And so with Hot Feet, because you can't exactly it's very risky to tiptoe because you might end up jumping, and you definitely don't want to end up jumping into a wave. So anyway, moving on, I tag that guy over there, although he doesn't bother coming, but I go ahead and engage these two guys over here. This again is one of those demonstrations of where I don't really have good control over my pets or on aggro, because I want to try and position these guys in such a way that I can cleave them all down, and I'm not doing so great at it because I kind of suck at this, but I'm still doing okay. The tentacle is no doubt playing a big part. Corruption just plays a big part with your success here. So it's going to be great that from this recording, next week, there's going to be a big buff to Horrific Visions that will always guarantee that you get a corrupted piece at the end. So it's very much worth your time to try to clear these. So if nothing else, you just can roll on, hey, what kind of corrupted thing can I get this time around? And it's a great motivator to do that little bit of farming to get more of those vessels. So I took care of that previous pack of especially the Void Speaker or Tormentor. I almost forgot its name now. But I'm going down this route so I can get a little bit of sanity back. This pack isn't very dangerous at all, although the pet's kind of taking a beating. Once the main guy goes down, the rest quickly follow thanks to all that cleave. Thank you, Juice. And here we go with this ad. So thankfully, it's a little bit easier to dodge the attacks. The big breath that it does, it's still something that you want to dodge because of how it's ranged, obviously, as you saw. So you still need to move out of a small puddle followed by a little cluster of them. But because you're at a distance, you have a little bit more travel time to give you just kind of that buffer to move out of the way. So I'm starting to run a little bit low on sanity. I know that these two packs are going to take a while, so I engage both at once, which is a pretty risky move considering tentacles and how troublesome those things can be. They are so good at avoiding damage. God, I hate tentacles. It doesn't matter what your class is. If you disagree with me and you love tentacles, leave a comment. Tell me how much you love them, because I don't, for sure. It is kind of a lot of damage that's going out. It's nothing that Goulash can't handle. Making sure to keep men pets on juice, of course, is a great help. The tentacles, though, are just they're just continually frustrating. And the others are not so much. Just stay out of the way of stuff, and you're okay. One more tentacle. Come on, tentacle. Thank you. So at almost the nick of time, I'm able to deploy my final orb here. So I'm all out. I got to take out this guy as well as the area boss and then Thrall with what I've got. And of course, whatever sanity I get back from these guys. So I engage the Hulk. Tentacle goes off right away. That's great. And then I noticed that I'm just kind of melting this guy. So I'm unloading pretty much everything that I've got. And I noticed a little bit late that I never got grabbed. I never got grabbed and thrown because obviously I'm not at melee range. But I found that fascinating. That's the first time I've never noticed that. I've always tanked these. I've always engaged that particular guy with my face. So now we're going for the area boss here. Of course, move in so that way you can deal with the Ring of Chaos by not having to deal with the Ring of Chaos. I try to keep my cleave out to take care of these corruptions because they can add up pretty quickly. Even if you're killing them fast, you can see those swirlies. That's where those ads come from. And you want to stand out of the swirlies too, because they can potentially knock you back, I believe. And if they knock you back into a Ring of Chaos, you'll get mezzed for a little bit, and then you get hit by the defiled ground. You get stunned for a little bit too, and so everything really compounds very, very quickly. Being able to fight like this still feels fun because it's still because I'm not doing a lot of damage. Maybe because I'm not just doing it very well. But my throughput definitely isn't as high as, say, my Paladin. And of course, having only a 430 item level does play into my killing speed. Knowledge, though, well, in this case, knowledge really is power. So now that we're back here, one more camo, and we're going to engage the 2 bouncers up front. Remember, I do have 2 kinds of interrupts. I do have a 24-second kick, ranged kick, I should say, and I have intimidation as well. I don't recall if I used both. I definitely kicked that particular one. But I think what I was doing here, I just kept switching targets for some reason, and I don't think I really needed to. All right, so their horrify went off, and it looks like, yeah, my intimidation, that wasn't used. So, oh well, not the end of the world though. I still have around 2/3 of my sanity left, and the big boss and his boars. I kind of forgot about the boars. But with nothing to really wait for, I have no lust, I have no pots or anything like that. I just, run in and I go for it. So the best thing for me to do would be to, of course, take care of the boars first. I get a little reckless though, because usually what I do, I pop an orb right inside the room and then I just go nuts on the boars. Try to take them out as quickly as possible and not care about what I get hit by. So if I get hit by the stun and I lose sanity, it's not a big deal because I have an orb running. But I was able to quickly dispatch the boars, and now it's just a 3-on-1. That's it, easy, right? For hopelessness here, it might be a good idea, maybe, to consider having your back to a wall. That way, if the orb happens to jump behind you, it'll immediately hit the wall, and you'll get kicked out right away. If it runs to the front, of course, they have to deal with that too. But if you don't have your timing right, because I believe the orb goes off at HP intervals, certain percentages, what'll happen is that you'll put yourself in a bad spot. Like, for example, with this attack, you might be a little bit too far from the center or too far in, and you'll put yourself in a kind of a bad position. But as you can see, once you get to this point, it's almost like the home stretch. Once you get here, from here it's mostly a game of nerves. As long as you're able to stay calm for this last part of the fight, then you're going to be okay. It's not nearly as hectic as Alaria, but of course there are mistakes that you can make, and it can be very punishing. But as you can see, down he goes, and in just a moment, here comes the achievement for this guy's first 5 chests clear. As a preview, I believe, I forgot what he got. Bracers, gloves, I think. Well, I'll show you in just a bit. But, well, hopefully this video was helpful. I'm going to continue doing these on as many characters or classes as I can with the time that I make available for myself. So it's going to be a little bit inconsistent, but I'll do as much as I can. So it looks like I got hands with leech. Oh boy. Great. So that's going to be it for me. Stay tuned for more videos like these and commentary and whatnot, and I'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.